Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Red Kamigawa Neon Dynasty set review. We're going to jump right on in with Aki Emberkeeper. Aki Emberkeeper is 1 and a red for an enchantment creature, goblin, warrior at common. It's a 2/1. Whenever a non-token modified creature you control dies, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Very deeply filler. It is a piker that maybe makes a 1/1. You can wheel this, and I don't think you're going to go out of your way to play it. We're finally into the modified deck with red-green, or at least the major modified deck. And this is the bottom rung. Here's the card for your deck. Sorry you didn't find the good ones. Up next is Aki Ronin. Aki Ronin is 1 and a red for a creature, goblin, samurai at common. It's a 1/3. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Cool little bonus. There's obviously a lot better samurai bonuses here, but being able to rummage is never a terrible thing. The creature on its own is pretty terrible, but you can feel not awful playing this. But again, this is kind of the bottom rung of you didn't quite get everything you wanted. Here you go. So you can wheel this just like Emberkeeper. Up next is Aki Warpaint. Aki Warpaint is a single red mana for an enchantment aura. A common enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +2/+1. We've seen +2/+1 auras before. You need to be the most ludicrously aggressive deck you've ever seen to want to play this. It is a modification. I'm sure there are better ways of modifying than this aura. So again, we're talking bottom rung. You didn't quite get what you wanted for a good modified deck. Here's a way to modify. Wheel this one as well. Up next is Ambitious Assault. Ambitious Assault is 2 and a red for an instant at common. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If you control a modified creature, draw a card. Okay, so we've got an instant speed Trumpet Blast here. I guess Trumpet Blast always is instant speed. The white ones are usually sorcery speed. So we got Trumpet Blast with potentially probably draw a card, assuming you've been modifying things. Obviously, you need to build around this. You need to be a very aggressive deck. You need to be a go-wide deck so that you're getting as many +2/+0s as you can when you play this. And there is decks that want this. Decks love, or there are always decks that love a Trumpet Blast. You just have to build to them specifically. You want a large number of creatures, preferably tokens. You want as much as you can, as wide as you can to play it. And not every deck is going to want to play it. And if you're playing this on defense, you have already lost. You are already dead. Wheel this, by the way. Up next is Atsushi, the Blazing Sky. Atsushi is 2 red for a legendary creature, Dragon Spirit at Mythic. It's 4/4 flying trample. When Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, dies, choose one. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of turn. Or until end of your next turn, you may play those cards, or create 3 treasure tokens. This is the least impactful of the dragons we've seen so far, but it's still a 4/4 flying trample for 4. It's still going to draw you virtually 2 cards, or make 3 treasure tokens. I suspect you'll usually do the 2 cards. But yeah, it's still a first pick. It's still a very good creature. It's just the least impactful, I think, of the dragons so far. Up next is Bronzeplate Boar. Bronzeplate Boar is 2 and a red for an artifact creature equipment boar at uncommon. It's a 3/2 with trample. Reconfigure for 5. Equipped creature gets +3/+2 and has trample. This will do some work. 3/2 for 3 trample is not the worst thing in the world. You can play that and not feel embarrassed. And then later in the game, as long as this is still alive, or if you top deck it a little bit later, you can give something else a pretty big stat boost and trample. And if it dies, you still have your pig, at least, or something else to put your pig onto. So I think this is like 5th, 6th-ish pick. It's good for modifying. It's just like, it's good stats. Nothing about this is blowing my mind. It's just all good stats attached with a good keyword. So 5th, 6th pick, I think, for Bronzeplate Boar. Up next is Crackling Emergence. Crackling Emergence is 1 and a red for an enchantment aura at common. Enchant land you control. Enchanted land is a 3/3 red spirit creature with haste. It's still a land. If enchanted land would be destroyed, instead, sacrifice Crackling Emergence and that land gains indestructible until end of turn. So 2 mana and one of your lands becomes a 3/3. And it doesn't die. It could be exiled, but it doesn't die, but it will go back to being a land. It's nice that there's like no downside rules-wise. There's just the downside that you put this card in your deck and then spent 2 mana playing this card. I think there's better ways to modify things. There's better ways to get a 3/3. This is a hard wheel, and I don't see myself playing this card. This feels pretty mediocre. Yeah, it feels pretty mediocre. Up next is Dragonspark Reactor. Dragonspark Reactor is 1 and a red for an artifact at uncommon. Whenever Dragonspark Reactor or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a charge counter on Dragonspark Reactor. Pay 4, sacrifice Dragonspark Reactor. It deals damage equal to the number of charge counters on it to target player, and that much damage to up to 1 target creature. So you get 1 shot as long as you dodge artifact removal to do some amount of damage to your opponent and one of their creatures. This is definitely not Shrine of Burning Rage. Also, very notably, this does nothing until you've played a number of artifacts and put 6 mana into this. Until that point in time, it does nothing. Yes, there's a few ways to tap artifacts, but there's also artifacts that do things. Yeah, I need to be doing a lot of damage with this. Like, there's cute combos you can do. You can get the anvil, and you can, sack the token to make another token every turn, and therefore drain a life, and therefore put a counter on this each time you make a token, and you do that. But at that point, we're just getting into the realm of, like, sure, combos exist, and you can do cute things with multiple cards if everything works out. But I live in the land of averages. And on average, I'm not a fan of this card. I think you take this card, pack 2, pack 3, when you're building towards some sort of cute combo, and then you hope the cute combo goes off. And that's just not how I play Magic usually. So this is a hard rate for me, because for me, it's like a wheel. I'm just not going to pick this or play it high. I'm not going to pick this highly enough to play it, even though I know there are decks where it will work. But it's just it's why I think the grade system falls apart, because this is like a build around B+ in the specific deck when you draw things in the specific order. Because like this late, like top decking this turn 10, this card is dead turn 10. This card is garbage off the top of your deck late in the game. Like absolute garbage. So I'm going to give this a wheel. We'll see how it works out. I am fully aware that there are combos that you can do to get some damage off of this, but we're talking about rating cards, so wheel. Up next is Experimental Synthesizer. Experimental Synthesizer is a single red mana for an artifact common. When Experimental Synthesizer enters or leaves the battlefield, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. Pay 2 and a red, sacrifice Experimental Synthesizer, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance, activate only as a sorcery. So single red mana. I can play the top card of my library, the exiled top card of my library. So I probably don't want to play this on turn 1. I probably want to play this just a little bit later. And then I can pay 3 mana and I get a 2/2, and I get to do that again. So this is 4 mana, exile the top 2 cards of your library, you can play them until end of turn, and you get a 2/2 with Vigilance. That's all fine. This is all okay. This is all okay. And this is a card that you could top deck late, and it's not dead. Because it's going to draw you a card, and it's going to give you a 2/2, and it's going to draw you another card. This is like 8th pick. I think it's a very, very low pick. But this is an artifact. This is an okay artifact. It reminds me of the Mnemonic Sphere. Up next is Explosive Entry. Explosive Entry is 1 and a red for a sorcery at common. Destroy up to 1 target artifact. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. This is probably totally main deckable in this format. Sorcery speed, sure, but there's going to be artifacts for you to kill. A number of them are going to be creatures, which is going to be very relevant, and getting a counter is a nice little bonus to that. So this is somewhere in the like 6th through 8th pick range. It's not unconditional removal because there's just going to be situations where your opponent just doesn't have an artifact or doesn't have an artifact worth casting this, and this card is then dead. Actually, no, it's not dead because it is destroy up to 1. So you could just play this as 2 mana, put a counter on something, but that may as well be dead. Yeah, so 6th or 8th pick for Explosive Entry, but you can main deck this in this format. Up next is Explosive Singularity. Explosive Singularity is 8 red for a sorcery at Mythic. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you can tap any number of untapped creatures you control. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature tapped this way. Explosive Singularity deals 10 damage to any one target. Oh, thank God this is Mythic. Thank everything that this is Mythic. If your opponent has this in your deck, you are starting the game at 10 life. And then at some point, you're just going to see them start tapping their creatures, and you're just like, all right, fine. I'm just going to throw your deck in the frickin' trash. Yeah, I will first pick this card. I will make sure to build a relatively aggressive deck that's going to have a whole lot of creatures, and I will look to do 10 damage to them and then hit him in the face for another 10. Yeah, I'll first pick this card. It is much better than the casting cost suggests. Do build around it, though. Do build around it. Don't put this in your, like, 5 creature control deck. That's not where you want it. Up next is Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is 2 and a red for an enchantment saga at rare. Step 1, create a 2/2 red goblin shaman creature token with, whenever this creature attacks, create a treasure token. Step 2, you may discard up to 2 cards if you do draw that many cards. And then it becomes Reflections of Kiki-Jiki. 2/2 enchantment creature goblin shaman, pay 1, tap it, create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control except it has haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So 3 mana for a 2/2 that whenever it attacks, make a treasure. Cool. I think you would just play that. And then you get to optionally discard 0, 1, or 2 cards and draw that many. And then you get Kiki-Jiki, basically, yeah? Cool. First pick. First pick. I like it. This will do some work. First pick for Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Up next is Flame Discharge. Flame Discharge is X and a red for an instant at uncommon. Flame Discharge deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you controlled a modified creature as you cast this spell, it deals X plus 2 damage instead. So we've got ourselves a non-face targeting fireball. And maybe you get X plus 2. Cool. Removal's good. Pick removal. I'll first pick this out of a number of packs, unless there's a crazy bomb. First pick for Flame Discharge. Up next is Gift of Wrath. Gift of Wrath is 3 and a red for an enchantment aura at common. Enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets plus 2/+2 and has menace. When Gift of Wrath leaves the battlefield, create a 2/2 red spirit creature token with menace. Again, if you're looking for a way to modify, there's probably better stuff you can do. This isn't the absolute worst, although 4 mana is quite a bit. And it is nice that you do get the 2/2 in case they kill your modified creature here. But look for better ways to modify than this. Wheel this. And yeah, find better things than this if you can. But it's there if you need it. Up next is Go-Shintal of Ancient Wars. Go-Shintal of Ancient Wars is 2 and a red for a legendary enchantment creature Shrine at uncommon. It's a 2/2 with first strike. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, Go-Shintal of the Ancient Wars deals X damage to target player or planeswalker, where X is the number of shrines you control. 3 mana 2/2 first strike, and end of my turn I can pay 1 to deal 1. I think this is the best shrine we've seen. I'll play this. I'll play this with no other shrines. I will not go out of my way to play it. I will not be picking this highly. This is still like 6th-ish pick. 5th-ish, 6th-ish. I will play another shrine because I have this one. But this is the best shrine we've seen so far. It is player or planeswalker only, but I still get to deal a damage to my opponent every turn. I'll do that. I'll totally do that. Absolutely. And it's a 2/2 first strike for 3, which you can modify in one of the modify colors. Sold. Sold. 5th, 6th pick for Go-Shintal of Ancient Wars. Up next is Goro, Disciple of Ryusei. Goro is 1 and a red for a legendary creature Goblin Samurai at rare. It's a 2/2. Pay red. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Okay. 3 red. Create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token with flying. Activate only if you control an activated... Too many words on cards. Activate only if you control an attacking modified creature. Interesting. So you can make a 5/5 red dragon spirit, but it's not going to be attacking this turn. Card's good. Card's good. It's first pick. 2/2 for 2, and pay a red to give all of my creatures haste. Sold. And then if I do modify something, 5 mana to make a dragon every turn that I attack. There's a lot of stipulations, but card's good. First pick. Up next is Heiko Yamazaki, the General. 3 and a red for a legendary creature Human Samurai at uncommon. It's a 3/3 with trample. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast target artifact card from your graveyard this turn. Cool. 4 mana 3/3 trample, and maybe I get an artifact back. Totally okay. 4th, 5th pick. Put it in your samurai deck. Up next is Invoke Calamity. 1 red. For an instant at rare, you may cast up to 2 instant and or sorcery spells with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard and your hand without paying their mana costs. If those spells would be put into your graveyard, exile them instead. Exile Invoke Calamity. Don't really care for this one either. Yeah. I don't really care for this one. Like, you have to have cast up to 2 instant and or sorcery spells, and they have to be the right mana values in order for you to get max value, and you're not going to be getting max value because you're not going to be casting, a couple of huge spells, and you're not playing that many spells in general anyways because we're playing limited, where we're playing 14, 15, 16 creatures. Really hard to cast because it's red. This looks like it's for constructed. So I'm not playing this in limited. And I'm certainly never picking it high enough to ever play it, because I'm going to wheel this and pick it for gems. Up next is Ironhoof Boar. Ironhoof Boar is 5 and a red for an artifact creature boar at common. It's a 5/4 with trample and haste. Channel, 1 and a red, discard Ironhoof Boar. Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. It's Blood Rush, basically. Yeah, this is just a big, dumb, slightly underpowered creature. Like, wheel it. It's very filler. You probably shouldn't put this in your deck unless you're desperate for a playable. It's a cute combat trick, +3/+1 and trample. You probably don't feel bad playing this, but I'm not going out of my way. I'm going to wheel it. Up next is Kami of Industry. Kami of Industry is 4 and a red for a creature spirit at common. It's a 3/6. When Kami of Industry enters the battlefield, return target artifact card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So you definitely want to return an artifact creature, probably, since it's going away real quick. It's a 5-mana 3/6. So, like, I really want to return a flying artifact creature, yeah? Yeah, I could return the draw artifact, but I'd also have to have an additional 1 and a blue. This is probably pretty filler, I would imagine. At that casting cost, at that low of a cost that you return things, I'm going to expect this is in the 8th pick range, the wheel range. I bet there's probably better things you can do in blue-red. A cheap vehicle, yeah, but I guess it could crew the vehicle. But yeah, I suspect the ideal blue-red artifact deck just has better stuff to do than this. I expect this is the bottom rung. The, like, you didn't quite get here. Here's one thing that works for your deck. So I'll wheel this. I don't think it's that great. It's got a big butt, though. Up next is Kami's Flare. Kami's Flare is 1 and a red for an instant at common. Kami's Flare deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Kami's Flare also deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller if you control a modified creature. Cool. I'll take a Lightning Strike. I'll take a Lightning Strike that might also do 2 damage to my opponent's face. Sold. Pretty high pick here. We're talking like a Braid-ish level. How good would a Braid be in this set? So like 3rd, 4th pick for Kami's Flare. Maybe like 4th pick. Up next is Kindled Fury. Kindled Fury is a single red mana for an instant at common. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. We've seen Kindled Fury before. First strike and a power boost is something I tend to enjoy in my combat tricks. I prefer Sure Strike over Kindled Fury, but Kindled Fury will usually do a pretty good imitation of that for 1 less mana. That said, it's a combat trick. We are wheeling this. We are not going out of our way to get this into our deck, but we'll play it. Up next is Kumano faces Kakazan. Kumano faces Kakazan. Can a Japanese word have... Yeah, a Japanese word can have 2 Ks like that. Kakazan. Single red mana for an enchantment saga at uncommon. Kumano faces Kakazan deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control. Big whoop. Step 2, when you cast your next creature spell this turn, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Okay. And then it becomes Etching of Kumano, 2/2, enchantment creature, human shaman with haste. If a creature dealt damage this turn would... If a creature dealt damage this turn by a source you controlled would die. Exile it instead. It feels really awkwardly worded. If a creature dealt damage this turn, which is every turn, would die exiled instead. Yeah, this is... It's 1 mana. It's 1 mana. It's not the worst thing in the world. But step 1 does not impress me. Step 2 does not impress me. And step 3 does not impress me. This is like a 6th through 8th pick for me. If I need like an enchantment creature, I guess. If my opponent's playing X1s, be really cool out of the sideboard. Hang on to that until you get a whole lot of value. But yeah, even on curve aggro, like you play this on turn 1, and then turn 2, you need to have a 2-drop to get that counter, and then turn 3, you get your 2/2. Yeah, I feel like there's just better stuff, but I'll put this at 6th through 8th, and we'll see how it goes. Doesn't hit creatures, deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control. Doesn't even hit X1s. Yeah, this is underwhelming. 6th through 8th at best. Seems filler. Up next is Lizard Blades. Lizard Blades is 1 and a red for an artifact creature equipment wizard. Lizard, not wizard, sorry. At rare, it's a 1/1 with double strike. Enchanted creature has double strike. Reconfigure for 2. This is going to be annoying. This is going to be real annoying. The 2-mana 1/1 double strike sucks. Oh, that's why every artifact, or why every aura says equip artifact. I was thinking it was for vehicles. It's obviously for vehicles as well, but it's also for these things because when they stop being a creature, when you equip them, they'll still have the auras attached to them. The auras will just stop doing anything momentarily. Cool. Got it. I see. Yeah, this is going to be obnoxious because they're going to put the double strike on a 4/4 or on a 3/3 flyer or something that's going to just do a ludicrous amount of damage. This is a high-ish pick. I still think I would prefer really good removal over this, so I think I'm on like second pick for Lizard Blades. But yeah, let's go second pick for Lizard Blades. Great way to modify stuff. Great to throw on one of your samurais that's going to attack alone. Seems like a very good card. Up next is March of Reckless Joy. March of Reckless Joy is X and a red for an instant at rare. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of red cards from your hand. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Exile the top X cards of your library. You may play up to 2 of those cards until the end of your next turn. Okay. Nowhere near the white one or the red one. Or sorry, the white one or the black one. The blue one might be better than this one as well. You know, it's a reckless impulse, but you get a little bit better selection, but you also lose all of those other cards. They are permanently exiled. So I'm on like a 4th, 5th pick for this one, I think. I think this is a step down from the other marches that we've seen. Up next is Ogre-Head Helm. Ogre-Head Helm is 1 and a red for an artifact creature equipment ogre at rare. It's a 2/2. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. Whenever Ogre-Head Helm or equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. Reconfigure for 3. Whenever Ogre-Head Helm or equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. It referring to the Ogre-Head Helm? Must be referring to the Ogre-Head Helm. So it's a 2/2 for 2 that gets in for a bit of damage and then hops on somebody's head, and then you continue getting in for some damage, and then when you're out of cards, you sack the helm and refill your hand a little bit. Seems good. Seems good. This is kind of like one of the weakest first picks, because it's not a bomb, it's not amazing, it's not even going to be, it's not even one of those cards that's like, you're going to win the game pretty shortly. It's just going to be some very good value. So I think I will actually keep this at second pick. I think I'm picking unconditional removal over this, but this is going to do exactly what red wants to do. Exactly what red's going to want to do. So second pick for Ogre-Head Helm. Yeah, I don't think notes are available just yet. And if I do have access to the notes, I probably cannot talk to you about those yet. Up next is Peerless Samurai. Peerless Samurai is 2 and a red for a creature human samurai at common. It's a 2/3 with menace. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, the next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less to cast. Cool. Totally okay creature. 2/3 for 3 is playable with menace, and my spells are going to be a little bit cheaper when I attack with an Exalted Samurai. Filler-ish level, we're talking 6th through 8th, but totally okay to play. Up next is Rabbit Battery. Rabbit Battery is a single red mana for an artifact creature equipment rabbit at uncommon. It's a 1/1 with haste. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. Reconfigure for a red. So this is Glass Slipper, right? Or Crystal Slipper, rather. +1/+0. Slightly better Crystal Slipper. I'm not over the moon on this card. It's obviously going to be a mainstay of trying to aggro someone out real fast. Probably a lot higher in the modification deck in red-green. I think you'll know when you want to play this. And when you want to play it, you can pick it relatively highly in pack 2 and pack 3. But pack 1, this is way down like 6th through 8th for me. I need to know that I'm doing this before I pick this, basically. Up next is Reinforced Ronin. Reinforced Ronin is a single red mana for an artifact creature human samurai at uncommon. It's a 2/2 with haste. At the beginning of your end step, return Reinforced Ronin to its owner's hand. Channel for 1 and a red, discard Reinforced Ronin, draw a card. So 2/2 haste for 1, but at the beginning of your end step, you return it to its owner's hand. Boy, this is probably okay, isn't it? Because like the ideal play pattern is turn 1, you play it, you hit him for 2. Turn 2, you drop a 2-drop. Turn 3, you drop a 2-drop and play this and maybe hit him for 2 again. And then you pay 2 and draw a card. It's got dash. Yeah, it's got dash for 1 mana, basically. This card is probably okay. And I guess it's at uncommon just because if it was too common, it would be too good. But I think we are around like 6th through 8th pick again, I think. Like, I do like that it replaces itself late game because this card is terrible late game. It's unfortunate that like you can't modify this, or you shouldn't modify this. Yeah, I'm going to go 6th through 8th on this. I think it's a bit underpowered, but I think it's probably just playable. Up next is Scrap Welder. Scrap Welder is 2 and a red for a creature goblin artificer at rare. It's a 3/3. Tap, sack an artifact with mana value X. Return target artifact card with mana value less than X from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste this turn. This is a reprint, right? No? It is not a reprint. Weird. Okay. So 3 mana 3/3 is vanilla passing, obviously. And then we can sack an artifact with mana value X or less, or X to return. Why are we doing that? This feels like a constructed plant. It feels like you have some sort of brilliant mana value decreasing chain that you're just not going to get in limited. I feel like typically your most expensive artifact is probably an artifact you want to keep around. That said, it is a vanilla 3/3, so you can just like keep this around just in case they happen to try to blow it up. But yeah, I think this is like in the 5th pick range. 5th, 6th pick range. I don't think I'm ever planning on doing the thing with this. I think I'm planning on playing a 3/3 and maybe saving an artifact once. Not saving, but cashing in an artifact once in response to some removal or something, I guess. Up next is Scrapyard Steelbreaker. Scrapyard Steelbreaker is 3 and a red for an artifact creature human warrior at common. It's a 3/4 with pay 1 and sack another artifact to give it +2/+1 until end of turn. Okay. I don't think I'm going nuts on this. 3/4 for 4 is okay. And that's a okay-ish ability. It's not great. Okay. I think you can wheel this one. I think it's very, very, very filler. I think this is the bottom rung for the black-red deck. Up next is Seismic Wave. Seismic Wave is 2 and a red for an instant at uncommon. Seismic Wave deals 2 damage to any target and 1 damage to each non-artifact creature target opponent controls. 2 damage to any target. So it's a 3-mana shock. And then 1 damage to each non-artifact creature token, which might include the creature you hit. So As long as you're not targeting an artifact creature, this is 3 mana, 3 damage. I would just always have 3 mana, 3 damage. Like we saw 2 mana, 3 damage. It does go face too. This is fine, but I think this is in the like 5th-ish pick range. Like obviously if your opponent has a bunch of X1s, it's better, but those X1s need to not be artifacts. And the fact that you might really need to kill an X3, but oops, it's an artifact creature, you can only do 2 damage to it. Kind of stinks. But yeah, let's go like 5th, 6th pick on it. This is definitely weaker burn than the other burn we've seen so far. We've seen some good burn. This is not in the good burn category. Up next is the Shattered States Era. The Shattered States Era is 4 and a red for an enchantment saga at common. Step 1, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. Here's our threaten for our sack outlet. Step 2, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. And then it becomes a 3/3 trample haste. I mean, if you've got a bunch of sack outlets, and there are a bunch of sack outlets available, here's your threaten effect. It sucks that it costs 5. So it's not like you're going to play a bunch of these. You know, the ideal black-red sack decks exist in formats where the threaten effect costs 3 mana, preferably 2 and a red, sometimes 1 red. 4 and a red means you're just not going to play like 3 of these. You might play 1, maybe. This is pretty mediocre, because if you're not sacrificing the creature, this is deeply mediocre. So, yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm threatening something on turn 5. I don't want to threaten things. I want to threaten things if I'm going to sack it or win the game. And if I win the game, then the rest of the card doesn't matter. Step 2 doesn't seem to do what I want to do. And so, best case scenario, we're on turn 7. We get a 3/3. I feel like there's better things I can do on turn 7. I'll wheel this, and I don't look to play it. Up next is Simian Sling. Simian Sling is a single red mana for an artifact creature equipment monkey at common. It's a 1/1. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever Simian Sling or equipped creature becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to defending player. Reconfigure for 2. So it's a 1/1 for 1. Ashmouth Hound? No, becomes blocked. Ashmouth Hound, I think, was blocks or becomes blocked. So it's a 1/1 for 1 that attacks like a 2/1. But when reconfigured, it's just a 1/1 counter. No, equipped creature also has that effect. This feels like bottom rung modify. Afflict 1. Yeah, defending player, so it's not Ashmouth Hound. It's Afflict 1. It's Afflict 1. Yeah, this feels like bottom rung modification. Or is this the Helm? Is this just the Helm from Kaldheim? +1/+1. And if it becomes blocked, it deals 1. Mid-rung modification. Yeah, maybe mid-rung. It's very, very, very cheap. I still think I'm picking it fairly late. Like 6th-ish pick. 6th through 8th. Maybe even wheel. It's really cheap. It's really cheap. Yeah, let's go 6th through 8th for Simian Sling. Up next is Sokenzan Smelter. Sokenzan Smelter is 1 and a red for a creature goblin artificer at uncommon. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 1 and sacrifice an artifact. If you do, create a 3/1 red construct artifact creature token with haste. 2 mana 2/2, pay 1 second artifact, make a 3/1 with haste. Okay. Here's a way for me to sack. We haven't seen a way. We saw the anvil, right? To make artifact tokens. I don't know where I'm getting all of these artifacts to sacrifice. I don't know where I'm getting all of these artifacts to sacrifice. Because, like, I need to be upgrading the artifact into a 3/1. There's not many things that upgrade into a 3/1, really. Treasures, I guess. So, like, but again, at that point, we are talking about, like, this one cute combo with, like, this one card and this one card. Man, I wonder if Fabricate was in this set at some point. Fabricate would have made this really good. So I am currently not super into this until I see where I'm getting all of these artifacts from. It is a 2/2 for 2, but we are long past the days where you just play a 2/2 for 2. But assuming you have artifacts and assuming you can get in with these 3/1s, which I also think might be a little bit difficult, unless you're really far ahead, in which case anything would win the game. I'll put this at like 5th or 6th right now, but I need to see how we're getting so many artifacts to sacrifice. Up next is Tempered in Solitude. Tempered in Solitude is 1 and a black for an enchantment at uncommon. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. I don't think so. No. No. I want creatures. I want a board. This is not a board. This is me taking a good part of an early turn off just to get that card draw going. And yeah, you have to be in Red-White Samurais for this card. I'll wheel this. I don't know that I'm actually going to play this card. This is one of those cards where it's just like, yeah, this is awesome if you create that perfect scenario for it in your head. Meanwhile, you're getting run over because you played this enchantment that did literally nothing. Up next is Thundering Raiju. Thundering Raiju is 2 red for a creature spirit at rare. It's a 3/3 with haste. Whenever Thundering Raiju attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then Thundering Raiju deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. 3/3 haste for 4, doesn't fly. Looks like it flies. +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Maybe it. And then it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified. So you play this, and it's a hasty 4/4 that deals 1 to your opponent. And then next time you put a counter on something else, and it's a 4/4 that deals 2. Card's good. Card's very good. Easy first pick. I like this card a lot. Very, very, very good. It really looks like it flies. Doesn't count self. Target create. Put a +1 where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. So it's a 4/4 that does not get 1 extra hit. Oh no, a hasty 4/4. I think it's still pretty good. Man, there's too many words on cards now. Up next is DJ Hero. Tawashi Song Shaper is 1 and a red for an artifact creature human artificer at common. It's a 2/2. Whenever another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, Tawashi Song Shaper gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Deeply filler. Deeply filler. You can probably wheel this. You'll find better cards than this most of the time. You can play it if you don't, but you can find better cards than this. It's a 2/2 for 2, which has not been good for a few years now. Maybe it's a 3/2 for 2, which is not that much better. Up next is Twin Shot Sniper. Twin Shot Sniper is 3 and a red for an artifact creature goblin archer at uncommon. It's a 2/3 with reach. When Twin Shot Sniper enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Cool. Channel, 1 and a red, discard it, deals 2 damage to any target. Cool. I like this. I like all this. 4 mana 2/3 reach is not the giant spider I'm exactly looking for. Oops. But it probably kills something or hits my opponent. And late game, if I just really desperately need it, oops, 2 damage to something. Easy peasy. I will pick this in the 4th, 5th pick range. Seems like a decent card. It's an artifact if that matters. It's got a bunch of stuff going on. 8th place, Dave. Thanks for the follow. Good afternoon. Up next is Unstoppable Ogre. Boy, we have a lot more red cards to go. Unstoppable Ogre is 2 and a red for an artifact creature ogre warrior at common. It's a 4/1. When Unstoppable Ogre enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. So it's a much less good Goblin Heel Cutter. 3 mana 4/1 is not something I'm super in the market for. It is an artifact. It is a warrior. And something can't block. I think this is all filler level. You can play this card, but I'm not going nuts for it. We're in like the 6, well, not even the 6th through 8th range. We're in like the 8th range here, I think. You can probably find better cards. I don't think you have to feel too upset if you play one of these, but if you're playing more than one of these, I think something might have went a little bit wrong. Up next is Upriser Renegade. Upriser Renegade is 1 and a red for a creature human samurai at uncommon. It's a 1/3. Upriser Renegade gets +2/+0 for each other modified creature you control. So as a 1/3, it sucks. As a 3/3 for 2, hey, we did it. And if it becomes any bigger, it doesn't become that much better because it's still an X3. It'll still eventually just get killed by 3 damage, depending on, or regardless of if it has +2 or +4 or +12. Okay card. It's obviously going to be a role player for the red-green deck. It is well above filler for the red-green deck, but it is nowhere near like we got there for the red-green deck. We're talking like 5th pick for this. Make sure you're modifying. If you're not modifying, you don't play this card. But if you are modifying, we're going to go like 5th pick for Upriser Renegade. Our last card for red is Voltage Surge. Voltage Surge is a single red mana for an instant at common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice an artifact. Okay. Voltage Surge does 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell's additional cost was cast, it deals 4 damage instead. Cool. We've got non-face hitting shock. Cool. And we've got, if we sacrifice an artifact, 4 damage to creature. It's kicker without kicker. Yeah. This seems fine. It's not like unconditional removal. It's not super great burn, but I am looking to take this. Like pack 1, we're talking 6th through 8th pick. Pack 2 or pack 3, and I'm in blue-red artifacts, we can maybe push this up a little bit if it's going to be 4 damage pretty reliably. So 6th through 8th, moving up as we get into the blue-red spell stack. So that's going to wrap it up for red. YouTube, let me know what you think of red. Otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow for the green set review. And then on the 10th, I will see you for the first draft of the format. But like, share, subscribe, all those YouTube things, and I'll see you all next time.